and welcome to SquaredEyesT.V. Today, we'll uncover the 2013 sci-fi film, Oblivion. It was directed by Joseph Kosinski, the same brilliant mind that gave life to Tron Legacy, Only the Brave, and Top Gun Maverick. It's a clever and haunting masterpiece with beautiful and realistic visuals, captivating music, a compelling story, and stellar performances from famous actors and actresses. Oblivion is beyond its poetic romanticism or beautiful production design. If you like this video, remember to hit like and subscribe. The story is set in the dystopic post-apocalyptic world after scavengers destroy the moon. The scavengers have come to take Earth after being forced to leave their dying planet. Without the moon, the Earth was thrown into chaos. Earthquakes toppled cities within hours, and tsunamis wiped out whatever remained. What they thought was the end of the world was only the beginning, as the scavengers prepared for a massive worldwide invasion. They tried to fend them off, but were left with no choice but to use nukes. Although they won the war, they ultimately lost the planet, leaving it contaminated and most of it uninhabitable. What remained of humanity had to leave Earth and build TET, their mission control, and a temporary space station before the Great Migration. Eventually, most of humanity will migrate to Titan, Saturn's largest moon. Fun fact, did you know that Oblivion was initially said to be produced by Disney, but was later picked up by Universal? Because of director Kosinski's connection with Disney after his masterpiece Tron Legacy became a hit, he initially pitched the film over to them. He later realized that it didn't fit Disney's theme. But luckily enough, Universal was eager to step in. In 2077, Jack Harper and Victoria Vika Olsen carry out their mission to protect the hydro rigs, which convert the Earth's seawater into fusion energy for the new colony. Remnants of the scavenger army continued to disrupt their operations. They attack their combat drones at night and try to kill Jack during the day. They only have weeks left before the completion of their operation, during which Jack handles the drone maintenance, while communications officer Vika keeps an eye on him. Another fun fact, did you know that director Kosinski used his mechanical engineering and industrial design background to make the film? In an interview with Collider, he admits that the bubble ship and the Sky Tower were creations he already had a clear image of from the start. Jack boards the bubble ship, to which Vika sends him to check on two malfunctioning drones. Seeing Tom Cruise in a cockpit again reminds me of that 1986 film Top Gun.
166 is down in grid 37. Linking to beacon now.
Jack starts with drone 166 in grid 37, where he briefly loses control of his bubble ship when he passes through a thunderstorm. Upon initial observation, Jack confirms that it put up quite a fight, seeing scavenger kills in the area. He quickly puts in a new fuel cell. Vika claims he didn't have the necessary tools to fix it, but Jack proves to her otherwise. You can ask any technician, plumber, or handyman what a little bit of bubblegum can't fix. Suddenly, a dog sneaks out from behind him, and no, this isn't Hachiko waiting for his master to return home. He scares it away with a gunshot before drone 166 is fully activated. Another fun fact for you. Did you know that director Kosinski wanted his creation to bring sci-fi back into the daylight? Growing up in the 60s and 70s, the classics were as bright and colorful as one could see in movies like Star Wars or Planet of the Apes. It wasn't until the early 80s, after the movie Alien, that although it was one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time, it brought science fiction to dark places of deep space and ships. Kosinski told Collider that he wanted a different kind of dystopic world, unlike the many gray, dusty, green-brown post-apocalyptic worlds, and focused more on vibrant colors of daylight and brightness of a world above the clouds. Well, Jack continues his search into drone 172 and worries that the scavengers are getting bolder, having lost 10 fuel cells over the past month. Without it speaking, Jack suggests going on his bike to search for it. He later finds some ruins, to which he tracks the drone's beacon inside the sinkhole. As he rappels down to check it, he finds himself inside the New York Public Library ruins. When he had thought he'd finally found it, it turns out it was a trap laid out by scavengers who pulled him deeper into the ruins with a snare. He manages to break free and finally escape, but the rope cuts off and he falls back down, like a puppet being cut off from its strings. As the scavengers surround him, drone 166 arrives and guns them down. Jack pulls himself back outside, but not before picking up a book at the library. Later that night, Jack brings home a flower for Vika, but instead of being happy about it, she runs to the door and throws it out. Yep, this is why it's hard to surprise girls when their reaction is quite surprising in itself. Well, after dinner, Jack asks her to go with him before their mission ends, claiming to have found an exquisite place. Vika goes outside, undresses, and jumps into the pool. Now, I'm pretty sure, being in the clouds and all that, the temperature should already be freezing, making you wonder how she could find the energy to swim at night. She pulls him into the pool, and the two make out. Another fun fact, that is, unless you're Andrea Riseborough, she felt uncomfortable during filming. She explained to Entertainment Weekly how filming was done far from her home, which stirred up feelings of isolation. She also describes how she often felt disoriented during filming due to the brightly lit scenes on the Sky Tower set. She explains how the worst part of it all was how she felt being objectified during filming and pressured into looking a certain way where the women always looked attractive. Well, Jack wakes up from a vivid dream of the same girl that he's been dreaming of for quite a while now. Now they're all later alarmed to see a massive explosion from a distance, which they determine to be a 6-stage meltdown inside the hydro rig's core. And here I thought the only explosion happening last night was the one that they were making in bed. While Mission Control is quite displeased, having lost one of its rigs, Vika explains that Jack suspects the scavengers have weaponized the fuel cells that they've been stealing and blew them up from the inside. When Jack goes out to confirm it, he finds a rogue signal and decides to check on it, where he finds the Empire State Building's antenna still intact. He finds a repeater inside sending a signal off-planet, which they later decrypted to be coordinates for Grid 17. Later, he goes offline, claiming to check the perimeter. He visits a lakeside cabin in a paradise hidden behind the mountains. Another fun fact for you. Did you know that Oblivion required considerably little CGI? With that said, the film was on a significantly lower budget than other sci-fi films in the genre, much to Universal Studios' relief. Director Kaczynski explained how the clever use of front projection techniques helped, a style used by filmmaker Stanley Kubrick in his 2001 A Space Odyssey. He reveals that unlike most films, they never used blue screens as background for the Sky Tower. Instead, they used massive screens of projected footage of beautiful cloud formations that were shot atop the peak of a Hawaiian volcano. Jack later wakes up to an object falling from the skies to the coordinates they decrypted earlier. Mission Control advises Vika to pull Jack out before command goes offline and let the drones handle it, but Jack refuses and rushes towards the crash site. He later finds survivors in sleep pods and reports back to Vika. While going through the wreckage, he finds another survivor he recognizes as the woman in his dreams. Out of nowhere, a drone shows up and guns them all down. Jack managed to save the last one, but was nearly gunned down. Another fun fact, did you know that Anthony Gonzalez of M83 confirmed that Oblivion was the first time he composed a film score? That's right. Music star Anthony Gonzalez is a member of that French electronic music group as its primary songwriter and lead vocalist, and they've made quite a name for themselves, even going to write the Grammy-nominated Hurry Up, We're Dreaming album. In an interview with Pitchfork, Gonzalez admitted that it took him and co-composer Joseph Trapanese a year to finish the job. Jake takes the sleep pod back to the Sky Tower, where they revive one of the survivors in suspended animation, later introduced as a NASA astronaut, Julia. She explains that they were on the Odyssey for a mission, but refused to give more details unless they help her recover the flight recorder. The next day, Julia convinces Jack to return to the crash site despite Vika's objections. Upon closer inspection, the scavenger's mask looks like the Predator of the said franchise film. Julia successfully unearths the recorder, but a scavenger sneaks up on them and knocks them out. Before he completely loses consciousness, he remotely sends the bubble ship away before the scavengers take control of it. I don't know about you guys, but if someone ever holds me at gunpoint, I'd willingly hand over anything to them. So yeah, go ahead and take the keys to my car. Here's another fun fact. Did you know that the actress Jessica Chastain was supposed to play Julia's role? Before production began, Chastain was suddenly offered the role in the 2012 historical thriller Zero Dark 30. She explained how she believed it was an opportunity she could not decline and was grateful for Cruise to have been allowed out of her contract. Due to the significant change in the cast, Olga Kurylenko was chosen as Julia Harper, Jack's wife in the film. Jack later wakes up in a dark cell, confronted by the scavenger's leader, Malcolm Beech, whom he reveals to be human. Unlike how he was made to believe, he shows how they've survived hiding from the drones using old stealth fighter tech that shields them from their scanners. Malcolm claims it only took them one weaponized fusion cell to take out the hydro rig. He then explains how they forced the Odyssey to crash for its compact nuclear reactor, so they could use it to blow up Tet with the remaining fusion cells with a core of weapons-grade plutonium. Malcolm claims they finally have a nuke and a drone, but they're unable to program it to carry the explosive back to Tet. He then asks Jack to program the drone for them to return to the Tet, but when he refuses, they drag Julia and have her at gunpoint. Fun fact, did you know that Morgan Freeman only took on the role after learning of Tom Cruise's involvement in the film? Although Freeman was already impressed by the script, he only joined when he realized that Tom Cruise would be in the movie. He explains how he's always been a lifelong fan of the actor and has wanted to have a chance to work with him. Meanwhile, Vika reports to Mission Control that Jack went on a pre-dawn patrol before losing contact with him. She then asked for a drone to sweep the area from his last known coordinates. Drone 166 was closing in on their location when General Sykes of the Scavengers successfully took it down. Worried that more would come searching for Jack, Malcolm frees them and urges them to go to the radiation zones to search for the truth. And another fun fact. Did you know that the highly acclaimed action star Tom Cruise agreed to join the project because of the director? Cruise explained how he was initially hooked on the project after being widely impressed by the director's vision of the film. Even in its drafting stages, Cruise truly believed in the success of Oblivion, bringing a haunting beauty with its unique aesthetic feel of a dystopic world beyond imagination. The experience was so magical that the duo decided to collaborate again in Top Gun: Maverick. Well, Jack and Julia return to the Empire State Building and piggyback on the Scavenger's beacon to send word to Vika. Julia reveals how they were sent to space on a research flight to Titan. Weeks later, their scanners picked up an alien object and were reassigned to investigate it, to which she reveals the shocking truth about it being the Tet. When he refuses to believe it, Jack suddenly recalls the time before the so-called war. He supposedly asked Julia to meet at the Empire State Building, where he then proposed to her in front of the stationary binoculars, to which Julia then took out the ring he gave her. Well, I guess having a memory wipe makes it okay to cheat on another woman. Another fun fact for you. Did you know that the actors were primarily attracted to the love story amidst all the action in the background? Aside from its stunning visual effects, intense action scenes, and compelling plot, the surreal love story drew one of the cast members to the project. Even Freeman admitted to Collider that the love story is unlike we've ever seen before. Kuryenko spoke with Film 4 about how she was drawn to the story's romanticism, which was both human and beautiful. Vika sends the bubble ship to pick up Jack and Julia when she witnesses them being close to each other. And here I was supposed to say, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, except for she died. Vika refuses to let Jack in at the tower and reports the situation to Sally. When she says they're no longer an effective team, Sally dispatches the drone beneath the sky tower and kills Vika. Julia operates the bubble ship and shoots it down before it can kill Jack. Sally claims she wants to return Jack and Julia to the Tet so they can be reassigned to a new mission. Oh, that's silly Sally. Fun fact, did you know that director Kaczynski opted not to use 3D for the film? Although 3D had been the rave now after his success with Tron Legacy, Kaczynski felt that it was too dark to use, especially with his vision of making a brighter film, and instead decided to use the 4K format. Jack and Julia quickly flee from the tower, but are chased by drones. He tried to lose them in a thunderstorm, but it only delayed them a bit. He then flies towards a canyon, loses them behind some rocks, and then chases after them and shoots them one by one. Does this make Julia the goose to his Maverick? Anyway, they barely lose them through a crevice, but the remaining drone bumps into them, and they crash into a desert of the radiation zone. Jack managed to shoot down the remaining drone. Another fun fact, did you know that the bubble ship was modeled after a helicopter and a fighter jet? Kaczynski explains how it was a blend between the first iconic Bell 47 helicopter and the most advanced fighter jet, which later became one of the main elements of the film. He explains how he designed it to be maneuverable and has plenty of tricks up its sleeve, which you will see in the movie. Well, they later discovered another technician flew in and fixed the gunned-down drone. He quickly runs for help, but is shocked to discover what it seems to be a clone of Jack. Well, you can never tell which one is a clone and which one is real. It's a real battle of the doppelgangers. In their scuffle, Julia gets shot, to which Jack quickly knocks out his clone. He then quickly flies to the clone's tower for medical supplies, but runs into a clone of Victoria. Seeing her alive, he tries to convince her to go with him, but she refuses. Run for your lives, it's the attack of the clones. Well, Jack takes Julia back to the lake house to recover. Once she wakes up, she convinces Jack to fight for himself when he feels down after realizing that he too might be a clone. Jack and Julia return to the Raven Rock Mountain complex, where Malcolm's men greet them. Malcolm explains that Tet is an alien intelligence ship that scourges the planet for its resources. After the moon was destroyed, the earthquakes and the waves destroyed whatever was left of the Earth. It was later followed by an invasion from thousands of Jack Harper clones, memory wiped, and programmed to kill. And here I thought little green men would invade the planet like how they did in Mars Attacks. Malcolm claims that the invasion was Phase 1, and Phase 2 was the drones. One time, Malcolm witnesses a Jack clone picking up a book and studying it. After seeing Jack step in front of a drone to protect Julia, he knew then that he was still in there, the human they once knew as Jack. Jack finally finishes the reprogramming of the drone and readies it for transport. Another fun fact, did you know that director Kaczynski had to consult with a panel of scientists for the backstory? Although Kaczynski was confident in engineering or architecture, he consulted with scientists to ensure the story was well rooted in science. He had to validate the accuracy of his backstory by discussing the geography, climate, and any other changes to Earth should the moon get destroyed. Meanwhile, Sally sends 3 drones to Jack's last known location. When they opened the doors, they were quickly ambushed by the drones, massacring everyone. Who knew it only took drones to wipe out humanity? I guess Skynet had better make more of these drones if they wanted to win against the puny humans. Well, General Sykes managed to sneak up on one of the drones and take it out. Jack also takes one down with the help of another scavenger who acted as bait, while Malcolm goes on a shootout with a drone. He managed to take it down, but at the cost of his own life. With their drone taken out, Jack suggests he fly the explosive to Ted directly, but Malcolm explains that they would simply shoot him down. That said, Julia proposes he take her with him, as Sally had previously asked him to bring her back to Ted. On their way, Jack decides to play the flight recorder they retrieved from the Odyssey. He discovers that he's only a NASA mission commander Jack Harper clone. He also learns that Victoria is his co-pilot, Julia is a crew member, and Sally is the Earth mission director. On their mission to investigate the alien object Ted, it turns out that the ship is uncontrollably being pulled towards it. Jack suggests ejecting the sleep module to protect the rest of the crew. As soon as he enters Ted, his ship quickly powers down, and he's escorted by drones who hold him at gunpoint. Sally notices that his vitals have become erratic, and paired with a pattern of insubordinate behavior, she wonders what his true intentions are. Jack explains that he wanted Julia to live and his race to survive. When they finally meet Sally, Jack opens the sleep pod to reveal Malcolm is inside, while Julia is left behind at the lake house. If Sally would have studied our history, she would have realized that this is the Trojan horse in the Odyssey that took down the city of Troy in a day. The two then promptly detonated the bomb to destroy Ted, which deactivated all the drones as the alien scourge blew up in space. 3 years have passed since the explosion, and Julia and her daughter have lived a meaningful life for themselves thanks to Jack and Malcolm's sacrifice. Later, survivors show up at the canyon, guided by the remaining clone of Jack, the one they left behind in the desert. Honestly, I always knew it would turn out that way, knowing that the clone they left in the desert went missing halfway through the movie. It turns out that the clone had also recovered the original Jack's memories and has been searching for Julia all this time, finally returning to what he calls home. And one last fun fact for you. Did you know that the story was based on a graphic novel that director Joseph Kosinski first wrote in 2005? In an interview with Collider, he claims he initially thought it would be his first film, so he wrote it as a contained cast. Little did he realize that when Hollywood's top actor, Tom Cruise, assumed the role of Jack Harper, his little story would become an excellent setting for a beautiful dystopic world. Well guys, once again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit like and subscribe. Make sure to tap that bell to be notified about our latest videos as well. And with that, we'll see you next time.